me put it here. Quite slow. Activate my hotspot. The notes, I put it in content library. Okay, and yeah, last week we look at the one sample hypothesis. Okay. Okay, first step to run this one sample hypothesis is you need to construct the hypothesis. And because you only have one sample, right? So that we have one mu, right, in the hypothesis testing. And there are three scenarios. And then because there are errors during the process of conducting research, so we have to consider type 1 error. And this can be represented by the significance level. And this significance level can be termed at 1%, 5%, about 10%, right? And then next, you can run the hypothesis testing and make decision using either critical value approach or p-value approach, right? And for each of these approach, you have different criteria to check. For critical value approach, you need to check the test statistic and critical value itself. And for the p-value approach, you have to look at the p-value and also the alpha. Then only you make decision either to reject or do not reject, right? So if you have sufficient to support your alternative hypothesis, therefore you reject the null hypothesis, right? If you have critical value approach, if the test statistic is larger than the critical value, that means we have the sufficient evidence to reject our HO, and this particular variable is said to be significantly affecting the dependent variable, right? And then if you use the p-value approach, you compare your p-value with alpha, and if your p-value is smaller than alpha, your decision is to reject HO, okay? And that means this particular variable is significantly affecting the dependent variable, okay? So you have two approaches to look at. You can choose one of this depending on the question and depending on the type of data that you have, right? And then lastly, you need to draw a conclusion, right? If your decision is to reject HO, that means you can conclude based on the alternative hypothesis. If your decision is to not reject HO or fail to reject HO, this time you need to draw a conclusion based on the null hypothesis. So that's the difference, yeah? Okay, next, let's move on. Okay, in this chapter, we'll be looking at the hypothesis, right? Okay, so the first hypothesis is one sample mean. So macam yang atas lah, kita lihat one sample, right? Kita lihat satu group saja. The other day we have the waiting time in the hospital, right? So we look at all the patients, so that is only one group, right? So you have to use this approach. Yeah, you have to use this step. Yeah, regardless of what approach tak kiralah approach mana atau jenis hypothesis mana, you have to go through the same process lah. The other step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, and then we have 4 more hypotheses to go. Yeah. Okay, the second type of hypothesis is that as two sample mean. Yeah, this is what we want to look at today. So two sample means there are two groups for us to compare. So yang ni yang pertama kan. So one sample mean. We only have one group, and then we check whether the mu is at this according to the standard, or it is not according to the standard, or if there is any complaint from the customer or from the patient saying that they have waited for more than this normal standard, then the management has to conduct a study, right? If this is based on this one group of the member in the sample, so you use the one sample mean. However, if you have two groups and then you want to compare the mean, so kita kena ambil hypothesis yang kedua, okay? And then this is also called two independent sample, right? Yang ni adalah independent. Independent maksudnya dua-dua grup tu adalah saling tidak berkaitan, okay? And we also have a PET sample. So PET sample, this is the PET sample tu maksudnya two groups also, two groups, but these two groups are dependent, yeah, dependent. Mereka saling berkaitan, right? Yeah, this is the third hypothesis. We'll look at it next class, and then we have satu lagi, dua lagi ya. So this is number 4. That is ANOVA. Yeah, if you have more than two groups and you want to compare on the mean, so you can use ANOVA. And the last one, number 5, is chi-square. Chi-square. If your data is in categorical, so you need to use chi-square. Yeah, semua ni, number 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all the when you have the data in numbers. Yeah, so kita boleh guna either one sample, two sample mean, per sample atau. But if you want to compare the two categorical variable, whether they are related or not, so you can use the chi-square number. Yeah. So untuk chapter ini kita ada 5 hypotheses, and we have done the first one, and then today we'll look at the second one. Two sample means that means the two groups are independent from one another. Tidak saling kaitan. Okay, dia punya steps pun sama, right? That also the same. So you have the first step, you have to construct the hypothesis. Just that now you have only one mean. You have two means to compare. Okay, and then step 2, step 3, step 4 sama saja. Cuma yang step 1 dia punya hypothesis saja berbeza sebab sekarang ni ada two groups. Okay, take a look at the example. Okay, I think we still remember this one sample. You ada 3 scenario kan? Two sample means also the same. Yeah, I put it over here. Okay, class, you are with me, right?
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is one sample mean. So I'm going to show you the two sample mean. Okay, saya tunjuk ke bawah ya, senang sikit. Okay, this is two sample mean. Two sample mean hypothesis testing. Okay, step 1, construct hypothesis. So kali ini hypothesis tu kita tak boleh tulis lagi mu, right? So you have to define first, yeah, your which one is your mu1 is 1, mu2 is 1, right? Okay, to write this hypothesis, so kita ada 3 scenario juga. Okay, first scenario is you have this null hypothesis. So before you let let mu1 equals upper. So we can say mean for mu. Okay, mu2 is the mean height for female. So now we want to compare male and female's height, mean height. Yeah? That's why we have two groups. Yang tadi, when we have one sample mean, that means we combine these two, right? All the customers, the mean height of the customers. So you don't divide it into male or female. But now, if you have two samples, contohnya you want to have two different groups, you can divide the customer into male and female. So kita boleh check dia punya height, right? Atau students height of male and female, right? Because of this situation, you have two sample. Want to compare two sample. So the first scenario is you can have this situation, mu1 minus mu2, right? Is equal to is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, atau if you have write it this way, then your alternative hypothesis must be mu1 minus mu2 is less than 0. Okay, so kalau situasi macam ni, right, sama dengan yang hypothesis yang pertama lah kita lukis tadi. So symmetry about the mean kosong kat sini. And then you have the alternative hypothesis, the symbol is less than 0. So less than 0 maksudnya there will be the tail to the left, right? You have the left tail, right? So this is your decision, the region, yeah? So this part is the non-rejection region, and this side is rejection region, right? Ini adalah rejection region. This is non-rejection atau acceptance region. Okay, so this is the first one. Yeah, you see, now you want to compare mean. Yeah, mu1 is the mean weight for male, and then mu2 is the mean weight for female. So kita nak check sama ada mean untuk lelaki, ya, mean height untuk lelaki lebih kecil daripada mean height for female. So you can use this situation, right? Okay, second scenario is the other way around. You can have this mu1 minus mu2 is less than or equals to 0, right? And then since you write this in your null hypothesis, so you can put it this way in your alternative hypothesis, so greater than 0. Okay, please bear in mind that for the null hypothesis, dia kena ada equal sign. Alternative hypothesis, you cannot have the equal sign, right? So untuk alternative hypothesis, you have greater than 0. So that means you have one tail in the distribution, but this tail is on the right side of the distribution. So this is your alpha and rejection region dekat sini. This is the non-rejection region, right? And then the scenario where we have mu1 minus mu2 equals 0. Yeah, alternative hypothesis, mu1 minus mu2 not equals to 0. Okay, so if you have this situation, now you see your alternative hypothesis not equals to 0. You have this 0 symmetry about the mean. Under the curve, the distribution is equals to 1. If your alpha is 5%, so this side will be 0.7, 0.95, right? Okay, since you have not equal sign in the alternative hypothesis, and you'll find that your distribution, you have two tail, right? Two tail, and then this alpha need to be divided by 2, right? And then this area is the rejection, non-rejection region, right? And the other two ends here adalah rejection region. Okay, what you want to compare why this time you have two male? mean, two means. First, you want to check whether the height of the male, the mean height of the male, and the mean height of the female are equal, or they are not equal, right? So you need to put this in. Ya, compare dengan yang pertama, kita ada satu group saja. Say for example, this is the height in the class. Yeah, so our class we have around 60 students, right? So this time I want to check whether the height of the mean height of the male student and the female student are equal. So I need to run the third scenario of the hypothesis. So if I want to check whether the mean height of the female is less than a male, so I can use this. If I want to check whether the mean height of the male is less than male, so I can use this scenario, depending on the situation. Okay, why I have these two mean? Because I want to compare male and female dalam satu class. But if I want to look at the overall height of the student of 60 in a class, I don't divide it into male and female, so I can use one sample, right? So boleh guna yang. So it is depending on the question, whether you want to compare of the two groups, or you only have one group to check on the mean. Yeah, so yang tu bezanya. Okay, the rest will be the same, right? Step 2 is you need to select the significance level, and then step 3 is to determine, to make a decision. You can use either critical value approach or p-value approach, and lastly you draw a conclusion. So you need step 1, right? So step 2, you select significance level, and then step 3, make a decision using either p-value or critical value. Step number 4, your conclusion. So sama saja, cuma number 1, you construct the hypothesis is different because now you have two groups. Yeah. Class, are you okay so far? Any questions? Do you need 1 minute to digest?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, okay. So I give you 1 minute. Huh? Okay. Can we continue?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Back to this slide. Yeah. So we have these two sample hypotheses. Yeah. If you have one tail, right, one tail to the right, one tail to the right, that means it is also called upper tail path. So your alternative hypothesis is you have mu1 minus mu2 that is greater than the hypothesis of the here, which is equal to 0. Okay, and then you have to check your step 2, step 3, and step 4. Okay, and this is the third scenario yang saya lukis tadi, when you have the population parameter 1 minus population parameter 2 not equals to 0, right? Yeah. What is 0? 0 is the difference between the population parameter. Yeah. Okay. Then you also have the lower tail, right? Lower tail is where you have the tail to the left, the left tail in the distribution, right? So your alternative hypothesis should be less than 0, right? So this is how you construct your hypothesis. And then when you want to run the hypothesis, this time you are going to use the analysis toolbar. Kita tak guna lagi secara manual. So you use the analysis toolbar, and then you need to read the question and then check whether you have two sample mean your sigma standard deviation is known atau standard deviation is unknown. If your standard deviation is known, your sigma square is known, so you need to use the z-test. Otherwise, you need to use the t-test. And then to use the t-test, you tengok ada banyak t-test kan. So the first situation is sigma unknown, and sigma unknown, but sigma unknown, and assume that it is the two are unequal. So in this case, you need to use two samples assuming unequal variances. Okay, if the situation where you have the sigma square unknown but equal, so kalau equal, so you have to use the t-test as well, but then this time to use two samples assuming equal variances, right? Yeah. And then that sample yang ni akan lihat next class lah, right? Yeah. For the time being, usually I will be t-test assuming the variances are unequal. So I will use this instead. Yeah, until that sigma square is unknown and unequal. Okay. Now, this is for your information. Yeah. Untuk semua hypothesis, not only for one sample, but two sample for the ANOVA or for the test sample. Okay. In the null hypothesis, you need to put the equal sign. Yeah, so kena ada equal sign. So the equal sign can be either greater than or equal to. This is less than or equal to, or equal to 0. And in null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis cannot have equal sign. Yeah, tak boleh ada equal sign. That's why you see in the alternative hypothesis, you can either have less than, greater than, not equal to 0, right? So you need dia punya syarat. Okay, this is two sample test kan. That means you need to have two meals to compare. So two meals di sini you can have mu1 minus mu2, whether it is greater than, it is less than, or it is not equal to 0. Kalau null hypothesis, mu1 minus mu2 is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to 0, right? Yang ni dah dia punya syarat. Okay, we'll look at the example later on. Okay, this shows the step, yeah? Okay, every time when you want to interpret the two sample, yeah, you need to check, you have to come here and check the explanation over here. So yang ni bila kita buat, then only I will explain this slide. Alright. Ya, hypothesis. Ada satu cara lagi yang kita boleh tulis hypothesis. Contohnya, right? If you have two sample, right? So you can write for null hypothesis. You boleh tulis macam ni. Mu1 equals, okay, mu1 is greater than or equal to mu2. Okay, this is for null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis, mu1 is less than mu2. Yang ni satu cara lagi, ya. Second scenario, mu1 is less than or equal to mu2. Okay, Alternative hypothesis, mu1 minus, okay, mu1 is greater than mu2. Right, and boleh tulis juga. But usually I use the first format lah, right? Okay, the third scenario, so you have this mu1 equals mu2. Alternative hypothesis, mu1 equals mu2. Yeah. So let's use the first format to write the hypothesis testing. Okay, now let's move on to the purchase order. So kita nak guna dataset ini to run the two sample mean, right? So these are the questions, right? Okay. Now first check on the dataset. Yang ni kita dah biasa dengan dataset ini kan? So we have items like supplier, order number, item description, item cost, quantity, yeah, cost per order, so on and so forth. Okay, so can you check your data? Yeah, do you have this column K, lead time? Do you have this? Because in the hypothesis, kita nak check lead time of the customer. Do you have this lead time?
I did, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what is this lead time? Yeah, if you check here, lead time is where you have this order date and the arrival date, right? So arrival date tolak dengan order date, you will get the lead time. So that this is the time that the transport, they use, they spend how long do they spend to send a parcel or to send a product to the destination, right? So that is the lead time. So this lead time started from the when the customer placed order until the stock have arrived in the destination. So yang tu adalah lead time. Okay, we can look at the first transaction again. So the lead time for the first transaction is 8 days. Yeah, let's assume that this lead time is day, because kita lihat yang ni kan bulan yang sama, tahun yang sama, yang beza adalah dalam harian. So this is lead time in day. Okay, first transaction you have 8 days of the lead time. Second transaction 16. Third transaction 5 days, so on and so forth lah. So you have a total of around 94 transactions. Okay. Now we have various customers. These are our customer or supplier. Okay. Now take a look at the first question. Okay, determine if the mean lead time for how key fastener and monthly valve are different. Okay, previously if we have the one sample mean, kan kalau kita ada one sample mean, kita lihat satu group saja. All this lead time, we consider it as the group of the supplier, right? But now for these two sample mean, we want to compare the two groups. So we have many suppliers here. And the first question is we want to compare the key fastener and the manual valve. These two suppliers lead time, mean lead time are different. So if you look at the I think this is the this is the supposed to be your tutorial, not the hands-on. Kalau hands-on, I think we have another one. Okay. So the tutorial question, I want you to do this open this purchase order. So for our hands-on, I think we need to have the consumer, right? Yeah, consumer transportation survey. So the purchase order, that is the tutorial, right? So nanti lepas kita buat hands on, so each group, you need to answer your second hypothesis, two hypotheses, menggunakan purchase order data set. Okay, this is two samples. This is tutorial questions, So these are the tutorial questions. And then for D, determine if the mean lead time, siapa yang dapat check lah. Mean lead time to compare the steel pin and also space-time technology. So you can compare whether this steel pin lead time is smaller than the space-time technology. For those who have this question C, you need to compare the lead time, mean lead time for alum sheeting, and check whether this alum sheeting is greater than the mean lead time for the durable product. This is the second supplier. And D is the fast-tier aerospace. Check whether this fast-tier aerospace mean lead time is different from the manual, right? So we have 4 tutorial questions, and I will assign these questions to the group later on. So now take a look at this consumer transportation survey. So we have another data set, consumer transportation survey. This is the data set that we want to do the hands-on, right? So can you get ready this one? Can you get ready this one? Are you?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, so this is previously I have the same data set for you to make the exercise for you to check whether your decision is to reject or do not reject each form, right? So this is based on the one sample mean, the first hypothesis. Okay. I hope every one of you have done this one, because during our tutorial time, we will discuss on this. Okay. Now, you see for one sample mean, ni test the following null hypothesis. Maksudnya semua ini adalah null hypothesis, So this statement semua ni you kena letak dekat null hypothesis. Okay. This is slightly different from what we have done. Sebab biasa yang kita buat adalah kita nak investigate kan the issue that we want to investigate, we put it in the alternative hypothesis. But yang ni adalah semua null hypothesis, right? Please take note on that. Okay, now we want to look at two sample mean. For two sample mean, okay, first check on the items. So kita boleh kena check on the items. And then next kita kena lihat what is the question. Okay, the question, so you see we have this determine if the number of hours spent by male per week in the vehicle is greater than female drivers. So you have two groups, kan? Satu ialah male, satu ialah female. And then if you look at the one sample, then macam kita boleh tahu this is one sample. So you say individuals spend at least 8 hours per week in the vehicle. So you need based on the customer, and you don't have to divide it by two groups, right? Because we don't know how to divide. Based on this question, it is for the individual atau the customer. So that means this is one group. So kalau dua group tu maksudnya you need to compare either male or female atau the users of certain vehicle, right? So now let's look at the first question. Apa yang kita nak cari? What is the mean? So di sini mean adalah number of hours spent. So number of hours spent and gender, right? This is the number of hours spent per week in the vehicle. Is it correct? So number of hours spent by male and female per week. So you need to have column F, right? Column F and together with gender. Right? You see male and female semua masuk dalam group column D, right? So I want you to copy these two columns, right? Can you copy these two columns? And you create a new sheet. Buat sheet baru macam yang ni ya, kita nak buat macam ni. Okay, you create a new sheet. Okay, and I want you to copy this one, right? You can copy all the whole column di sini. Okay, or I just copy this one, right? You put your cursor here and then you control shift down, right? This is the mean yang kita nak cari, and then we also need to have gender. So yang ni you highlight yang ni serentak dengan gender. So sekarang saya dah highlight yang ni kan, so saya nak highlight serentak gender. So sebelum saya tekan gender dekat sini, I need to press the control button. Saya press control button and hold it. So saya select yang gender. Then only you control shift down. So dua-dua column telah diselect. Okay? And then you control C. And then you put in your new sheet dekat sini. Put in the new sheet. Okay? Yeah. So that's how you do it. Are you okay so far?
Okay, Doktor.
Okay, wait aja.
Okay. So kena dua-dua serentak ya. So first you select ini, and then bila nak select gender, so you sebelum select tekan gender, right, the label ni, you kena tekan control key dulu, ya. You press control key and then you hold it, and then baru you tekan gender, barulah you select semua. And then you have all this selected, two columns together, then only you go to the new sheet and then you paste it there. Okay. And then now you can escape. Kita nak select lagi. So now we want to look at the first question, right? So I copy first question and then I put it in the new sheet so that I know what I want to do. Is everyone okay? Okay, you don't copy it first, because yeah. Okay, now yeah, no need to copy this first. Okay, so next kita nak lihat. Okay, first we want to look at two groups kan. So we want to rearrange the male and female, right? Male in one group, female in another group, and then corresponding with the number of hours spent in the vehicle. So for example, male ini dia kena, yeah, first customer male, dia punya hours per week adalah 10. Second male adalah 5. Yeah. So we want to sort this actually. Yeah, we want to sort it according to the gender. But kita nak select dalam analysis toolbar, kita hanya boleh select dua group saja. So we want to rearrange all the female in one group and male one group, right? So to do this, bila you dah buat macam ni, so you can use the gender. Select gender and then for the sort button. Click on data, yeah, dalam data sini. Okay, so you select this gender, then you go to data kat sini, and then you choose this one, sort from A to Z, right? So when I sort this, you see semua tukar accordingly. Kita tak nak sort gender saja, tak nak sort gender column saja. Gender and number of vehicles tu kena sort together, right? So this is the output I have, right? after I sort it. So I have all this female, yeah, and their corresponding number of hours spent in the vehicle. Okay, and
Madam,
also, yes,
can you do one more again?
okay, yeah. So let's undo it. Okay, so you see, semua male female kan dia adalah tidak teratur. So we want to sort it so that male in one side and female in another group. So to do this, I click on the gender. Saya tekan I put my cursor in A1 cell, right? And then I go to data. So I need to press this button, right? So saya tekan ini. So you check lah, you tengok. Yeah, you look at the screen, yeah. So number of vehicles tu dia sort together with gender. Tak nak gender yang sort saja. Dia kena sort sekali atau serentak dengan number of hours spent, right? When I press this button, so you see semua dah sort together. So kalau siapa yang siapa punya data masih lagi 10, 5 dan sebagainya, so yang tu tak betul. Sebab you have to sort, yeah, two columns tu kena sort serentak. Done?
Okay, Madam, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now, so kita dah sort, ya. Then you can put the question, right? Copy question. Sebab kalau tak, dia akan sort ke bawah. This is the question. Determine if the number of hours spent by male per week in the vehicle is greater than female. So this is the question that we want to do, right? So, okay, let's take a look at first step. So step pertama adalah we need to construct the hypothesis, right? So you construct hypothesis dulu. Right. Before you construct hypothesis, you have to let, yeah, mungkin kita let sini, let mu1 equals number of hours. Yeah. Number of hours spent per week. Yeah. Number of hours spent per week by male. So maksudnya mu1 adalah male, right? Mu2, yeah, equals number of hours spent in the vehicle lah, per week by female. By female. Okay? So kita dah sort. Kita senang nak pilih nanti. Right? Now, when we have defined mu1 and mu2 clearly, kan, satu male, satu female, then we can write the hypothesis. Okay? So you have to determine if the number of hours spent by male per week in the vehicle is greater than. So this is what we want to investigate. Ya, tadi saya dah beritahu kan, your one sample mean tu, yang ni semua ni adalah tulis dalam null hypothesis. And for the second sample, right, kita nak investigate all these statements. So this statement should be in the alternative hypothesis. So how do you write that? So kita nak investigate whether the mu1, yeah, is than mu2, right? So you see, so you can write mu1 minus mu2 is greater than 0. Yeah, you see, mu1 is female, male, mu2 is female, right? So we want to check if the number of hours spent by male per week in the vehicle is greater than female. So kita boleh tulis macam ni, mu1 tolak dengan mu2 greater than 0. So greater than 0 maksudnya mu1 dia punya mean lebih besar daripada mu2. Bila kita tolak yang ni, kita dapat jawapan lebih daripada kosong atau positif. Right? Yeah. And because if you have put this in your alternative hypothesis, kan, so dia punya pairing, dia punya pasangan adalah mu1 minus mu2 is less than or equal to 0. And this is how you write your hypothesis. Then, are you okay, class?
Yes.
Okay, so this is step one, yeah? Yeah, when you run the hypothesis in your group project, in your assignment, you don't have to write step one, step two, yeah? You just go according to the flow. Okay, step two adalah you determine the alpha, your significance level. Let's set it at 5%, right? Set it at 5%. Okay, this time, yeah, we don't have to do it manually to calculate the dia punya t-test berapa dan sebagainya. So we can, yeah, from now onward, we can use the data analysis, right? To do this, you go to data, check on the data analysis ke sini. Okay, you say you have this many tools, many analysis tool. So this time you want to run the hypothesis testing. So you scroll down to the last, yeah, scroll down sampai last, yeah. And then you can see that you have t-test, right? Tadi macam yang saya tunjuk lah. So you have this, these are the tests that you need to use, right? But depending on the type of data. Tapi untuk our case, yeah. So you'll be using the t-test to sample assuming unequal variances. Okay, so maksudnya you scroll to the bottom and then you look at this is t-test pad to sample for mean. Yang ni kita akan buat next class. This is the pad sample. And then now I want you to look at the two. Yang ni exact test bukan. So t-test, either you choose t-test assuming equal variances atau unequal variances. So I will choose the second last. Excuse me. Are you okay so far? So you click yang ini. And then put OK. Yeah, so you have this dialog box. Okay, now for variable, for variable one range, kan, maksudnya you need to put in your input. So let's assume that variable one ni adalah your mu1, right? Mu1 adalah your mu. What mu? The mean number of hours spent. So kita nak cari mean. This is mu kan, mean. So kita dah divide into male and female. Tapi kita nak cari apa yang berkaitan dengan male and female. So that is the mean number of hours spent. So this is the variable, right? Variable for male and then variable for female. So berkaitan dengan number of hours spent. So kita dah copy dekat siap-siap dekat sini. So variable one range tu you select yang male. Start dengan male dulu sebab our mu1 is male. If you write mu1 equals female, so you kena select yang female, right? So yeah, now mu1, right? Mu1 adalah male. Tapi kita bukan nak select male, male adalah text. We want to calculate the mean. So to get the mean of what? Mean of this variable, number of hours spent per week. So you check this male. So dia punya number of hours for each of the meal in the sample, you kena select, right? So you select all the meals, number of hours spent per week in the vehicle, right? So yang ni you select. Make sure you dah select semua yang meal. Follow?
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. And then next, you can put it down. And then next, kita nak variable 2 range. So variable 2 range tadi kita dah define mu2 is the number of hours spent in the vehicle per week by female. So kita kena ambil number of hours, right? For female. Why we want to do so? Because we want to calculate the mean. Kita nak cari mean. If you select female, yang ni text kan, dalam text atau kategori, Excel tak boleh carilah sebab yang ni bukan nilai. But we need the number, right? We have to look for the mean. So female semua dah select. Okay, you can pull this down. hypothesis mean differences. Yang ni kita letak kosong. Okay, did you put the label just now? No, we didn't, right? So you don't have to check this button. So alpha, your significance level is 5%. Okay, now for upper range, you can put it in the same sheet. So let's put this, or let's put it here. Okay, kita letak tepi sini. Ya. Okay, semua dah siap ke? Dah boleh ke?
Dah.
Okay, then you can click OK. So you click OK, you see, dia dah ada analysis untuk kita, right? Okay, what is variable 1? So variable 1, you boleh tulis lah. This is your mu 1, right? Atau this is based on the mu. And this is female. Yeah. Okay, what you can see here, you need to check whether yours and mine are the same, yeah? So make sure observation untuk male adalah 21, untuk female is 29. Yeah. We can just adjust kat sini. You see, you have so many decimal places, kan? So you can always reduce it to 4 digits. Kalau tak terlalu crowded, 4 digits. Okay. Semua dah ada jawapan macam ni? Right, you see, tadi kita select 2 sample, t-task, assume equal variances. So you check on the variance, definitely they are not equal, right? So ini betul lah cara kita select betul for equal variances. And hypothesize mean is 0, degree of freedom is 27. This is the t-task 1.6289. This is p-value for 1 tail, critical value 1 tail, p-value 2 tail, dia punya reading, critical value 2 tail. So dia dah keluar semua, and you yourself, you have to know which number to take, right? What number to take, it is depending on the hypothesis, right? Okay, let's check the hypothesis. Sekarang kita lihat hypothesis. Okay, so if I have this alternative hypothesis, yeah. So saya nak lukis, okay. So I have sini one tail, right? I have one tail, and the tail is on the right side, right? We check on the alternative hypothesis, kita ada one tail, right? So this is your alpha. Okay, you have 5% of alpha. Okay, that means here you have one tail side, right? One tail. So one tail meaning that you only look at this, you highlight yang ni lah. Jangan lihat benda lain, lihat yang one tail. If you have your alternative hypothesis not equal sign, baru you baca yang two tail. But here you have one tail only, yeah, satu tail. So you highlight yang ni, meaning that you don't read the two tail, critical value and p-value, right? Kalau read yang ni salah, your hypothesis ada one tail saja. Are you okay?
Okay, madam.
Okay. Now we go to the third step. Yeah, third step is you need to make a decision, right? So decision, you nak buat decision. So ada dua kaedah. Right? I'll show you the approach. Kaedah pertama, you have the critical value approach, right? So menggunakan critical value approach, you compare your critical value with test statistic, right? Yeah, your test statistic, you boleh terus highlight. This is your test statistic, right? You can use different color. Yeah, this is your test statistic. Okay, so your test statistic equals to 1.6 6289. Your critical value 1 adalah 1.7. 1.7033. So are you okay so far? Critical value 1.733. Statistic 1.28. Sorry, 1.6289. Right? Now you can make comparison. So kita compare. Okay, test statistic is slightly smaller than critical value. So, sorry, the other way, right? Critical value lebih besar. Critical value is larger than test statistic. Therefore, your decision is what? What is your decision? What do you think is the decision? Reject or do not reject?
Do not reject.
Yeah, do not reject. Yeah, thank you. So your decision is do not reject. Right? Do not reject H4. Yeah, so this is this is critical value approach. So kalau kita menggunakan P value, right? So P value approach, and you compare your P value with alpha, right? Alpha is 5%. P value 0.055. 0.055. So P value is also slightly larger than the alpha, right? So you should have the same decision, right? So do not reject H4. Ya, keadaan ini maksudnya do not reject H4. Are you okay so far?
Okay, madam.
Yeah, doctor.
Okay, then only you go to step number 4, right? You draw a conclusion. You draw a conclusion. So your decision is do not reject H4. Yeah, saya bagi tahu kan, when you have this situation, right, you have to conclude based on the null hypothesis. So you can say that, yeah, you based on null hypothesis, yeah. So you can say that the mean number of hours spent by male in the vehicle is less than, right, or equal to female driver. So you base on the null hypothesis to conclude. Yeah, we do not have enough evidence to support the alternative hypothesis. So in the alternative hypothesis, it says that the number of the mean, yeah. So mu1 is the mean number, right? So kita kena ada mean. The mean number of hours spent per week by male is greater than female. Tapi kita tak ada bukti yang cukup, right? Based on data-data ini menyatakan bukan begitu, right? So kita kena buat conclusion based on null hypothesis, whereby the mean number of hours spent per week in the vehicle by male is less than female. Okay. So kita kena buat conclusion. Okay, that's how you run the two sample hypothesis testing. So this time is quite easy because you don't have to do the calculation. You use the analysis toolbar. That you need to tahu lah. You have to know which one to select, right? So based on the hypothesis, you know that this is one tail. Then you select p-value one tail, critical value one tail. Don't ever look at the two tail, right? For this question. Okay, I give you 1 minute to digest it, and then we'll go to the second question. Okay, class. Yeah. Yeah, some of you might get the different values from what we have over here. Yeah. So probably this is because when we copy the data from the source, yeah, if you copy one by one, yeah. So this is according to the previous experience with my previous semester students lah. So kalau mereka copy satu-satu, dia akan dapat ayat beza dengan apa yang saya dapat. Yeah. So you have to do it simply, right? Anyhow, when you get this, you as long as you follow the steps, and then you understand why we have to use the one tail instead of two tail in this situation, then that will be fine. Ya, you ikut saja you punya step dan cuba fahamkan. So yang tu dah boleh ya. Okay, so this is question 1. Now take a look at question number 2. Okay, this time we need to determine if the male if the miles driven per week by SUV and car drivers the same. Maksudnya kita nak compare kan the mean miles driven by SUV and the car drivers. So kita nak check adakah dua-dua ini sama atau tidak sama, right? It is supposed to be different, yeah. Determine if the miles driven per week by the SUV and the car drivers are different, right? Yeah, so we can put this in the alternative hypothesis. Okay, so I change this to so determine if the miles driven per week by SUV and the car drivers are different. Okay, now, so for the second question, we need the type of the vehicles and the miles driven, right? Ada dua data yang kita perlu. Yeah, miles driven. Okay, this is the mean. Kita nak cari mean untuk miles driven per week, right? Column G. And we need to have also the vehicle driven. So ada dua benda yang kita. Okay, so same thing. You can, you copy this vehicle driven, right? Kita dah copy, and then now you need to copy the miles driven, right? So before you click on this miles driven per vehicle, you kena tekan control key. Tekan control button atau control key, you tekan and then you hold it. Then only your cursor you click on this one, right? So dia akan baru kita select. So maksudnya dua-dua dah selected, the two columns are selected. So you can put in the new sheet and then you paste it, right? We paste it here. So I have this vehicle driven and the miles driven per week, right? Yang ni saya dah sort, dah sort, siap. Okay, and then next, you can uncheck and unselect. So tekan escape to unselect. And then next we look at the second question. Second question. So second question is paste it here. Okay. So determine if the miles driven per week by SUV and the car drivers are different. So first of all, maybe we quickly write down the hypothesis. Right, before we write down the hypothesis, kita redefine dulu lah. Let mu1 equals mean miles driven per week. You just follow yang ni kan, per week by SUV drivers. And then mu2, mean miles driven per week by car drivers. Okay, so kita dah define, then you can write your hypothesis. Okay, apa yang kita nak investigate? Determine if the miles driven per week by SUV and car drivers are different. So we want to investigate whether these two are different, in terms of the mean miles driven, right? So I can write mu1, so mu2 is not equals to 0. So that means they are different. So bila you dah tulis your alternative hypothesis this way, and your null hypothesis, you're going to tulis mu1 minus mu2 is equals to 0, right? Now, and we want to check on the distribution symmetry about the mean. So yang ni dia ada two tail, right? You have two tail, and this is alpha divided by 2. Okay, kelas tadi saya terlupa nak bagi tahu satu lagi ya. Okay, Kalau kita guna critical value approach, do not reject HO. P-value do not reject HO. So you can also look at this graph kan, dalam graph ini. And this is your critical value. Your critical value is at this point is 1.7033. And your test statistic is 1.6, right? Yeah, there is somewhere. This is your test statistic equals to 1.6289. So that means this test statistic falls in the non-rejection region, right? So memang dah confirm lah tiga-tiga ni, critical value approach, p-value approach dalam graph ni menyatakan there is the decision is do not reject HO, right? Yeah. So kita ada tiga-tiga untuk double check, right? Okay, back to here. So you have this hypothesis. So your alpha is 5%, 0.05 until 5%, right? So when you are clear with what you want to do, so next we go to the data, right? So select on data analysis. Masih lagi kita ambil t-test two sample assuming unequal variances. You click OK. So this time kita kena delete yang ini, ya. Kita delete yang first question kita buat, ya. So we delete. Okay, this time we want to have this mu1. So mu1 is the mean miles driven. So this is the mean, nak cari mean, ya. Miles driven per week untuk setiap satu customer atas for each of the transaction, but we want to look for the mean kan, so kita kena we have to put it in this V1, right? So for this V1 you cari yang this is SUV, ya, cari yang berkaitan dengan SUV saja. So SUV start daripada sini, so you copy semua SUV dan jangan terambil yang minivan, ya. So this is SUV mean. Sorry, not the mean yet. Yeah, this is the miles driven per week. So kita ambilkan average dia baru dapat mean, right? Okay, and then variable 2 is the car drivers. So yang ni delete. So kita kena cari car drivers pula. Okay, this is car drivers. Dia punya miles driven, right? Yeah, car drivers kita kena select semua. Okay. And then, yeah. Okay, earlier we did not select the label, so we just ignore this part. Alpha, 5%. Output range, yeah, we put it next to the graph. Later class, if you have done this, you just click OK, right? So you dah dapat you punya result. Okay, you boleh besarkan sikit, right, to enlarge it. Okay, and then you can change this to this is your SUV drivers, and this is the car driver, right? So kita ada dua group. You see here we have two groups, SUV drivers and car drivers. And what you want to do, we compare on the mean. Mean, what mean is this? Mean adalah based on the miles driven per week. So kita, yang ni adalah setiap observation, kita nak cari mean, kita campurkan sekali dan bagi dengan jumlah yang ada, right? So for observation, SUV drivers, you have 15, right, sample, and the car drivers, you ada 22 sample, okay? And then degree of freedom, and these are your values, yeah. So need to reduce the decimal places so that senang kita nak interpret nanti. Ini dah banyak. Okay, you can see that the variants are different, right, for SUV and the car drivers, right? And these are the means for each of the group. That's why kita kena run two sample mean. to a group, right? Okay, now you see kita ada one tail, ada two tail. So kita nak baca yang mana satu? You look at your question and tadi kita dah construct our hypothesis kan. So kita ada two tail, right? So we have two tail and this is your T. This is your T test statistic. Yeah? So you really highlight T test statistic and you want to using the two tail value. Two tail value, you highlight yang two tail. Jangan ambil one tail lagi. Right? I hope all of you are clear. Huh? Why we take two tail instead of one tail? Because we look at the question kan. Question so kita determine whether the two are different. So if the two are different, you have to put in your alternative hypothesis not equal sign. With this not equal sign, that means in your distribution, in your bell-shaped distribution, you have two tail. Bila ada two tail, so you baca yang two tails saja. Okay. Now, do you need 1 minute or we can proceed?
One minute, William.
Okay.
Madam,
Yeah.
kenapa soalan tu ditukar kepada different?
Okay, actually sama saja sebab saya tak nak you all confused kan. You see di sini, actually dia sama saja. But then di sini kalau you tengok yang dekat one sample mean, semua statement ini adalah you have to put it in your null hypothesis, right? Okay, for second question, you not only for second question, for the any type of the hypothesis, right? If you want to investigate something, you need to put it in your alternative hypothesis, right? So kita nak investigate, for example, yang pertama lah. We want to determine if the number of hours spent by male and female, male is greater than female. So kita letak ini dalam kita punya alternative hypothesis. So you see dalam alternative hypothesis kita letak mu1 tolak mu2 greater than 0. Maksudnya male's number of hours spent in the vehicle per week is greater than female. So kita letak dekat now alternative hypothesis. So question number 2. We want to determine if the miles driven per week by SUV and the car drivers are different. So nak check adakah dua-dua ni adalah berbeza. So yang ini kita kena letak dekat alternative hypothesis. So kalau saya terletak the same kan, the same, nanti you letak dekat alternative hypothesis. So tak betul lah dia punya right. So if you look at here, if you have two tail, right? Semua you kena untuk alternative hypothesis you kena letak not equal sign. Ya, tak boleh terbalik. So in order not to confuse you all, right? So I need to change these two different, right? So benda ini kita nak investigate. So kita nak letakkan statement ini in the alternative hypothesis. So kalau saya letak the same kan, nanti you all letak equal dekat not dekat alternative hypothesis. So I change it to not equal. Boleh ke? Boleh faham tak maksud saya?
Okay, faham.
So actually saya boleh letak the same juga. Then I have to tell you that this is in your null hypothesis, right? So null hypothesis kena sama equal and the alternative is not equal. Yeah. Okay, and then next one. Okay, so step 1, step 2, step 3. So kita guna kita guna critical value approach. So we compare critical value with test statistic, right? So for two-tail, your test statistic, for two-tail, your critical value is 2.1098. Your test statistic is 2.8773. Now, your test statistic is larger. So what do you think is the decision? Macam mana dengan keputusannya? What do you think is the decision? Reject or do not reject?
Reject.
Thank you. So decision is reject. Okay, based on critical value approach. So kalau kita guna p-value approach, you need to have the same decision. Decision mesti sama, reject is O. Now let's see. Okay, p-value you compare with alpha. Alpha 5%. Your p-value two-tail is 0.0105. So your p-value is smaller than alpha, right? So kalau p-value is smaller, decision is also reject is O. Okay, if you want to look at the graph, you can see again. This side is the critical value, right? So critical value on the right side is positive 2.1098. On the negative side, you can letak negative 2.1098. So next, you look for your where is this lay in, right? T-test 2.8. So 2.8 dia lie in this side, somewhere dekat sini. 2.8773. So that means it falls in the rejection region. So yang ni betul lah, decision reject HO. Right? So conclusion, right? You can say that there is sufficient evidence to support the alternative hypothesis. So it can be concluded that the mean, the miles driven per week by SUV drivers and the car drivers are different. So kita ada bukti yang cukup menyatakan SUV drivers dengan car drivers, mereka punya miles driven per week tu adalah berbeza. Right? So yang ni adalah analysis question number 2. Boleh ke kelas?
Boleh, madam.
Okay. Okay. So that means, we have satu question lagi, maybe this one I let you to do the tutorial question. Let me assign the question to your group. So we have this. So cuba buat yang nanti hari Rabu dan Khamis yang kita nak discuss. Masa tutorial. Okay, let me assign. Okay, we have this. Okay, this is tadi kita ada consumer. So you buat C, right? So I have to go according to the group lah. Okay, and then this one.
Madam.
Yes, 2, 3. Yes.
Madam dia buka grup lain tu.
Sebab ada 3 grup. So saya kena letak satu-satu.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Ya, sebab yang ni mass lecture ya. So saya kena letak semua. Okay. Nanti saya assign. Ya, nanti you boleh check lah dekat sini. Right? Yeah, mungkin you can go through the tutorial, the hands-on. Kalau yang tak faham boleh tanyalah while I assign, right? While I assign the question to your group. Okay, this is choose order. Question A. Ya, saya letak macam ni ya, question A. Just put question 1. So you all faham question 1. Okay. So this is question 2. Group ni question 3. So you all semua kena buat ya. And then I have this question 4. Okay. So yang ni adalah untuk yang student marketing. Student ya, untuk group A 5A kan, student econs 5A. Okay, yeah, I start the second group. So purchase order transaction. Yang purchase order tu dia ada 4 soalan. So I just put it like this. Question 3. And 4. I have this. Okay, group 6 ni. Group 6 you tengok ya, yang ni based on today's date kan. Walaupun you dapat data set yang sama, tetapi soalan berbeza ya. This is based today's date tu based on 2 sample, right? On 27 tu adalah 1 sample. Faham tak? Faham? Adila, Hafiz? Yeah. So this is 2 sample, question 1. Okay, sorry. Supposed to be question 3 ya, soalan yang ketiga. And then we have one more, yang ni pun on question 3. Sebab question 1, question 2 kita dah buat hands on, consumer transportation survey, question 3 kita belum buat lagi. Okay, and then choose. Okay, next kita ada another last group yang kita ada 3 group. Oh, okay, group 2 is me. Please, you need to put your answer in your, this one, letak dekat your name under homework. Yeah, it's me. Group is me. Is that okay? Faham ke? Bukan letak dekat sini ya, it's me. So nanti you remove this and then you put it in your homework, class notebook homework. Okay, this is question 2. Question 4. So kumpulan jana yang ni adalah soalan hari ini. This is 2 sampel, right? 2 sampel ni. Ke nanti saya tanya, saya nak check ya hari tutorial nanti. So we have this, okay. Okay, I have assigned all the questions, all the tutorial questions to all the group. So can you please check, and if you have any questions, you can ask now. Jangan sampai nak discuss tutorial baru cakap tak faham, tak tahu nak buat apa, sebab soalan tak clear. Ya.
Doktor,
Ya.
nak tanya kalau untuk tutorial group kan, hantar jawapan tu wakil saja ke semua member?
Group leader. So for
Group
example
leader.
kan, for example yang ni adalah group 5B. So Yana, ada saya dah bagi tahu kan hari itu, kalau you all tak tulis ketua kat mana-mana, I assume nama yang pertama tu adalah ketua, right? So ketua, then you bagi tahu lah, okay, Yana, your full name kat mana? For example, Azra kat sini kan. So your homework you letak dekat, so this is one sample, right? So this is your homework. So letak dekat sini, right? So I assume you all team members you dah discuss, dan salah seorang saja boleh letak. So kalau you all nak letak untuk your punya your revision sendiri, kemudian hari boleh juga, you boleh letak kat your page. Sebab for example Ahmad punya page kan, kawan-kawan lain tak boleh tengok, tak boleh baca, orang lain tak boleh access lah. So artikel punya pun sama, orang lain tak boleh access, kecuali pensyarah lah boleh access. Saya nak check your punya homework, saya boleh go through each of the students homework page. So kalau you all sendiri rasa nak buat untuk revision kemudian, so you boleh juga buat yang systematic macam Azra. Right, Azra dia dah buat untuk setiap satu page. Setiap satu page dah according to the chapter. So you can do that also. Sebab kita dah ada facility macam ni kan, so you pun bolehlah guna Microsoft Teams punya facility untuk you buat revision. Okay, so itu saja untuk hari ini. Ada lagi nak tanya?
Ada doktor.
Okay, thank you. So hari ini kita dah habis 2 sampel ni. This week also we want to discuss 1 sample mean and also 2 sample mean. So next week mass lecture kita akan lihat pet sample, right? Atau ANOVA. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you again in the tutorial class. Bye, take care.